Welcome to the Mander's Mindset Podcast. Here you'll find both monologue and interviews of entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, and a variety of other people, where your host Amanda Russo will discuss her own mindset and perspective and her guest mindset and perspective on the world around us. Manders and her guests will help explain to you how shifting your mindset will shift your life.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Amanda's Mindset. As always, I'm your host, Amanda Russo, aka the Breathing Goddess. And I am here 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm here in Orlando, Florida at the Wyndham Hotel with Justin DiMinni. I'm here at Podfest. It is my first time here. How many Podfests have you been to?
It's my first time as well. So You and I are in the same boat, my friend.
Okay. So what is your podcast?
My podcast is called The Perfect Playlist. And so really quickly, I pick 5 songs. My buddy picked 5 songs. We do that around a theme. So think like 90s hip hop or favorite MTV music videos. And so for that hour, we will play those songs and talk about it together. What it meant to us as kids, why we picked it for the playlist, trying to build the perfect vibe around a song or a theme. So yeah, it's fun.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
What made you decide you wanted to create that type of podcast?
I don't know if you have this in your life, but do you have someone where you could just talk to about anything? And the two of you could talk to that thing for an hour straight and not even realize what time it is, where you are, what's going on. So this friend for me is that kind of person. So he and I could talk about any topic, anything for however long. And music just happens to be that thing. Music is a great unifier to begin with, right? So you and I could talk about our favorite things and what it meant to us and what was going on in our lives at that time. I really feel that any of us can have that conversation. So me and my best friend have that, and we just hit record.
Okay.
That's simple.
So what made you decide you wanted it to be a podcast and not just talk on the phone about it or video chat each other?
That's a great point. I'm going to answer this very lamely. And that's he and I started a dating podcast in 2009. He is a married man. Me as a single man who didn't want to get married. Him, and then we had, like another single female on the show, another married Jewish male on the show for like a completely different perspective where he came from versus us. And so then that's kind of how we got the podcasting bug. So we were like very OG kind of back in the day. I mean, we don't give ourselves credit for that, but no one was podcasting back then. No one. So
yeah, 2009 was a while ago.
It sure was.
I did not mean to make you feel old.
No, you don't.
But it's
literally a decade and a half ago. So, but yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how it started. And then we developed our report then, and then decided years later to reunite. So, yeah.
How long did you do the dating podcast?
A couple years. So we did that like about a good 3 years together. Oh. Yeah. Not with any consistency or regularity because look, back then, I mean, you're a machine, right? What you do and how often you do it is admirable, in my opinion.
Thank you.
No thanks needed. You were awesome. However, I will say back then there wasn't enough knowledge and metrics around the fact that like, hey, my audience wants regularity. They want to know I'm releasing on this day at this time or at this cadence, right? And you do what, 1 to 2 a week, let's just say, right? So people weren't attuned to that back then at all. They would just tune in when you blasted it out. So, and the way to blast it out back then, again, not to give you a history lesson, but very limited, so it was like Facebook. That's it. That was the only way you advertised socially from a social network perspective. No TikTok, no Insta, no this, no that, to the degree that it is now. So, yeah. So I'm a dinosaur, my friend. You got a relic on your podcast right now. So.
No, but that's really cool that you have been podcasting. So that in 3 years, even if it wasn't consistent, it's a good amount of time.
It was. And I don't give you that history lesson to say like, oh, I'm a pioneer or I was even good at it. It was more of just like, that's the way it was. And now, like, seeing you do what you do, how often you do it, is admirable. It takes a lot more work and dedication and, your audience interaction. It's like crazy right now what it is. So love what you do. Love hearing about what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So do you have a schedule now for publishing them?
I don't. And so I go against every rule that I tell people. I go against everything I learned, because we just get together when it's convenient for us collectively, which is like, man, as a podcaster, what you want to do, hit everyone at the same date, same time, with regularity. And I violate all three of those things. But hey, if you want to start a podcast with me, let's go. I'm a free agent. Let's do this.
So you recognize that it is better. I'm losing my voice, guys.
It's been a long week.
That it's better to have some type of consistent schedule.
I agree.
But you still don't.
I don't, because life gets in the way.
Right. About your perspective.
My friend has children and he's got 3 of them, and I'm not trying to put this all on him, but it's just a matter of, my only point is saying that you need to, if you're going to co-host, you need to agree with that co-host on a schedule, a cadence, and stick to it. Your audience expects that. And in modern day podcasting, that's the reality of the business from my perspective. Yeah.
So why didn't you discuss that with him at any point?
That's a good question. Because we don't monetize, we don't advertise, we don't Patreon, right? So stakes are very low. It's purely a hobby. It's purely for fun. An ambitionless podcast. I'm probably one of the only ambitionless podcasts on the planet. How's that? Our stakes are very low. Our expectations are very low. We just do it to do it. And there's no dream, no goal, no mission statement, which flies in the face of everything we've learned here this week at Podfest and everything you do, frankly. I mean, you are very driven. You have a goal, you have a mission statement, you have clarity around what you want to do, why you want to do it, and where you want to be. We don't. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like the anti-podcaster, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to come to Podfest?
In my corporate job, I work for a very large accounting firm. An aspect of what I do for my living is there's an internal podcast there. So there's over 35,000 people in that company. And so the messaging is, let's get meet people where they are, build podcasts for them to hear what they want to hear to help themselves grow and thrive at our company, right? So that's one lens that I looked at podcasting from. Just because I'm not podcasting with regular cadence doesn't necessarily mean I don't, from the personal side, I don't want to learn more about what you do, why you do, and how often you do it. And so why I'm here is to learn about that, right? Continuous improvement, even though I'm not active at the moment. Continuous improvement through the industry, learning from the best and brightest. And that's why I'm here at Podfest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say you achieved that?
I think so. And I think, so let's just call that the professional side of things, right? So there's that professional side of things, which, as you probably learned yourself this week, like there's a lot of angles at which you can look at the industry, the podcasting industry through. And that is monetization, that is audience growth, that is technical knowledge. All 3 things of those are checked for me this week. But a big reason I'm here too is personal development. I'm meeting people like yourself and many others who are inspiring to me and give me new perspective on my life in general. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that in my personal life? Just the positive energy here all week has been in Orlando. This January 2024 Podfest has been palpable. It's been contagious. It's like by osmosis, you're going to learn about different people from different parts of the country coming from different angles, and just priceless.
I agree.
Absolutely priceless. Yeah. So just being around people like you is giving me like a new lease on life and a new way of looking at things. Let's put it that way.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest goals in life, and one of my main goals with the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if the audience grows, great. If I monetize it at some point, cool. But I wouldn't say I'm an ambitious list podcaster, but I'm not in it for those reasons. If I could help shift a handful of people's perspectives on life, that'll make my day.
Yeah, you've honestly, you give me a lot to think about. We just met the other day, so I haven't heard your podcast yet. But really, that's one of my take-home items, is to go back to where I live, listen to your podcast, be influenced by others here this week, and seek to make active changes in my life based on what I'm hearing and what I'm experiencing here. It's an exciting thing. You know, I've been alive almost a half a century. And so for me to experience something like that at this point in my life is invigorating and refreshing, frankly. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you say was the biggest takeaway for you from Podfest? Best experience, biggest takeaway.
The biggest takeaway was I was welcomed into a place and a community that I didn't know existed, and that I didn't know had a pulse. Like, there is a pulse going through this place. I don't know if you felt it all week or if you want to talk about that, but I think it's something that needs to be felt. And the only way to feel it is to be here.
So what do you mean by the pulse? Can you explain what that means to you?
Absolutely. There's just an energy and a light here that you can't get from a virtual experience. You can't get from looking up tips, tricks, best practices online and reading them in black and white. There's something here, meeting people like you and others, that you just feel. It's a vibe. There's energy. And that to me is priceless. You know, as I said earlier, not to borrow that phrase again, but it's something that needs to be experienced. And hey, take it back to your own life in any way you can. But I do feel that there is a community here that is notable, and I feel great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I feel great. Like bottom line, I feel effing good, you know, and proud of what I was able to do here myself, you know, for others in terms of how I presented on stage, and also to what I got back in return from people, and they don't even realize it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Would you say there were any downsides to your Podfest experience? Anything you would change for your next Podfest experience?
I don't think so. And that's not just me going party line here. I really don't think so. I think it's one of those situations where you get out what you put in. So if you are active, if you are engaging, even if you're an introverted person, just kind of like hone in on one person and what they know and what they can give you and what you admire, and pick their brains around and pick that apart. I think there's value in that. I don't think there's anything I would change. Every venue has its challenges, I will say that. So this particular venue, not for anything, may have experienced some, it was Wi-Fi, right? There's Wi-Fi issues.
Wi-Fi sucks here.
Yeah, so you're dealing with vendors who are cloud-based and things like that. They have their challenges. So you really want to experience things as they would optimally be, whatever. That's me nitpicking, but nothing to do with this conference, no reflection on the organizers, their work, and what I've learned. Priceless, again, experience, but no negativity. Nothing to change for next year, other than maybe book a later flight because I have to leave for the airport in less than 3 hours.
And we're recording a podcast right now. I'm very, very persuasive.
Yes, you sure are. You sure are. You are good at that, my friend. But hey, that's what the plane's for. I will sleep when I'm dead, kind of thing, right? So
you obviously didn't attend. Well, I don't remember whose session it was, but they even had a slide up that talked about sleeping when you're dead.
There you go.
No, it's not good to do.
No, it's not healthy, and it's not good advice.
And the presenter talked about burnout and how it's heavy if you don't plan accordingly.
That is true. Yeah, self-care is like a big 2020 and beyond kind of mindset, and I appreciate that, but I'm not following that as I go through TSA at 4 a.m. So
would you say you normally follow some self-care?
Of
any sort?
I don't. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I do. What I do is I do take time for me. So I will in the evening, like dedicate a lot of like these senses. Look, we're attacked by a lot of sensory things in our lives, emails, et cetera, if you have a corporate job, or just, in your personal life, you've got family members to look after, a lot of noise, some of it positive, some of it negative. Excuse me, a little hiccup, open bar hiccup. But I do think, yes, I do exercise, I do take time to read. And I do take time to video game. I love video games. That's me. Okay. That's me. That's my thing.
No, self-care, I think a lot of people assume it's, you've got to meditate, you've got to journal. Self-care could be anything. It could be working out. It could be talking to someone you can talk about anything to.
Well, you're a big gym person, right? So that's part of your self-care, and your accountability and dedication to yourself, right?
But to me, self-care is broad. It could be going for a walk. Right. It could be, maybe you just want to lay on your couch and not have the TV on and do nothing.
That's fair and fun.
Self-care is whatever helps replenish you, to me.
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. Or podcasting.
That's self-care.
Free therapy.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
You're taking a moment to be very conscious, be very present, and just hit record. And that's free. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Very true. Very true. So what's next for you? Where you headed? What's the next plan post-Podfest?
Podfest has given me a lot to think about. So for me, it's action plan. Ultimately, my goal, my dream is to help people build, create, and work on their own podcast. So I almost see myself as a super producer, one who can edit for them, build their social, build their content, and consult in that sense. Now, that's my ultimate goal. So a big reason I'm here is to learn how to do that. And for whom, it's all good. Myself or others, that's my goal. But yeah, I would love to be able to be my own boss as it pertains to podcasts and helping others get to where they want to be.
Okay.
That's my mission. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I love that you want to help other podcasters, because everyone and their brother in my eyes says anybody can do a podcast. You could do it with an iPhone, which I agree.
And theoretically true. Yeah, which is exactly where you're going. Yeah.
Because we're doing it on an iPhone right now. No mic, and we're on an iPhone.
Sure.
But at the same time, depending on how tech savvy you are, it's easy to record a video or record a Zoom or record a Riverside, whatever you're using. Publishing it in those steps was not something that was easy for me. The editing was not something that was easy for me.
Right.
Posting stuff on social media, not a problem.
Right.
But so everyone has their different skills, but I don't think podcasting is as easy as some people make it out to be.
Very true.
Some of the nitty-gritty steps.
And one thing I want to hit on that you didn't, but you're doing a very good job of, is personal brand, right? So you are also not just the show, but you, right? You're building yourself as someone who represents X, Y, and Z, right? And so I think there is a lot that goes into that people don't necessarily talk about, that people don't necessarily plan for. They just kind of, to your point, just want to do a podcast. It's like, that's great. But people come to your podcast for you, right? And so you building and elevating yourself, your brand, your mindset, your approach, it's a beautiful thing. And I would love to be able to help people with that. Kind of do what you are actively and maybe even unknowingly doing yourself. But you know what you're doing. You're learning quick. You're a fast learner. From what I've seen and what we've talked about this week.
I'm trying.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Should I explain the shirt real quick? Because I'm wearing Hanson Brothers.
Go for it.
We went to a 90s party tonight. I just want to put that out there.
That's also why I'm in some tie-dye.
Yeah, there we go. I can't get the Nirvana logo.
I gotta.
It's cool. Let me back up, go forward. Anyway, it's the Hanson Brothers, and it says Nirvana underneath. So they're obviously not Nirvana. But I felt the need to do that. Okay. Now that we're 20 minutes in.
Did we record for that long? I was trying to be quick.
It's possible, but you can do a two-parter, right? That's a beautiful thing about this format. Not that someone wants to tune into me twice, but.
So you mentioned mindset.
Yeah.
What would you say mindset means to you?
Mindset is not only who you are, but who you want to be. So to me, mindset is what you're projecting into the world. A big part of that is what you want to be, what your ultimate goal is, right? So let's just say I'm an introvert, but my mindset is I want to be a TEDx speaker. Well, you likely have to kind of change, people might slam me for this, but you likely have to change your approach. You have to suddenly be like a boom person. Like a personality, like a big thing. So a terrible example, but mindset is discipline, accountability, and your orbit, who you attract and how you project into the universe. What's that energy? What's that philosophy? And what's that aura that you're going for? I think mastering that is something that people spend a lifetime doing. I think people like yourself who have that naturally do a very good job of projecting mindset outwardly. And that's a beautiful thing. It's an enviable thing. It's not common. Not common at all.
Why do you say it's not common?
Because it's not something everyone has in their DNA. It's something that people have to work to exude mindset, right? So mindset is beyond what's going on up here. Mindset is this, it's that. How I think about myself, how I project myself, how others think about me, right? Mindset is a lot more than just what's going on between these two temples. And that's my point.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with all that.
Cool.
Would you say identity ties into mindset?
To a degree, because identity is a piece of it. I think and that's where I was saying how others perceive you. So identity is not only how you perceive yourself, but how others perceive you, right? I can tell you I'm Batman, I'm big and bad, but unless you're a criminal who fears me, then I'm not Batman, right? I'm just another caped weirdo. I'm like the king of bad analogies.
Another caped weirdo.
Like they'll be like, all right, this guy's like playing Halloween. But if I'm a bad guy who fears Batman and doesn't want to get beat up by this guy I heard about, right? That's the mindset I have about that person because you are that person who projected that into the universe, right? So again, horrible analogy, but I hope it works for you and your audience.
I get what you're getting at. I do. Cool. I get what you're getting at.
You're patient and kind.
Well, thank you. So,
oh my God, I have to wake up in 2 hours.
It's okay. I typically end my podcast with 2 segments. Have you heard of Jay Shetty?
No.
He's author, motivational speaker. He's got a podcast. It's called On Purpose.
On Purpose, okay.
Yes. And I'm a big fan. He ends his podcast with these 2 segments. and I recently decided to start using them.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got 2 sets of questions for you.
Okay, like a lightning round kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes. Both that can only be answered in 1 word each question.
Sure.
Called the many sides of To Us. Number 1.
Okay.
What is 1 word someone who is meeting you for the first time would describe you as?
Chill.
What is 1 word that someone who knows you extremely well would describe you as?
Karen.
Okay. Number 3. What is 1 word you'd use to describe yourself?
Thoughtful or deliberate?
Okay. What is 1 word that if someone didn't like you or agree with your mindset, not necessarily a random person that haven't met you, what is 1 word they'd use to describe you?
Soft. I think people can see like empathy or outward thinking is kind of weak. So maybe someone would see me at that as like a weakness, or it's me overanalyzing myself. But yeah, that's how I feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 5. What is 1 word that you're trying to embody right now?
Positivity.
I like that. Okay.
That's a mindset shift for me, because I grew up kind of feeling and experiencing some negative things. I've had anxiety in my life. So I've, been around it and I felt it personally. So that's something I've really tried to shift in my life, just like get that voice off the shoulder and be more positive and intentional about my life.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So next segment is the final 5. This can be answered in a sentence.
Okay, sure.
Number 1. What is the best piece of advice you've heard or received?
Be your authentic self. This is something you exude in spades, by the way, in my limited time with you. Well, being real and true to yourself equals happiness.
I agree. Number 2. What is the worst piece of advice you've heard or received?
Grin and bear it. Just accept whatever the world has given you or that person said to you out of respect for whatever the fucking bullshit is that they brought to you or the world has given you. Grin and bear it. It's pretty bad advice.
Number 3. What is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
Oh, wow, that's good.
I can't take credit for them.
So good that I don't really have a response at the ready. What's something you value? Can I twist that a little to say something I value more than I ever have?
I guess.
Yeah,
it's 1:20 in the morning. So
I know. Something that I used to value that I'd love to say opinions of others, but I'm not there yet. So let me just leave it at that.
Okay.
I'm not there yet. I haven't fully convinced myself that what people think of me holds no value. I still am stuck in that trap a little bit. So being vulnerable with you.
Maybe you value it a little less though, because you recognize it.
Could be.
So maybe you have less value in other people's opinion, even if you still have some.
Maybe, but it's still something I am clearly struggling with, which is why I brought it up. So I appreciate the question. Very good one.
I get that. If you could describe what you would want your legacy to be, as if somebody were reading it, what would you want it to say?
That I took care of those that care about me.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
If you could create 1 law in the world that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
I want to be a wise ass and say, have a clue. In other words, like, it's the platinum rule of treat others as they want to be treated, right? So it's a very borrowed concept, but once I hit my 30s and 40s, I really cranked the volume on my empathy. And so to answer that question very briefly, that we be more empathetic towards one another, the walking in my shoes kind of thing. but fly through an airport and that'll go out the window, which I'm about to do in 2 hours.
You keep saying that.
I know, it's on my mind.
I did pressure him into recording podcast today.
Where I want to be.
Well, I am glad to hear that.
Yes.
So before we fully close out, is there anything else you want to share with the listeners?
The only thing I want to say is support Amanda's mindset. Bring this where it needs to be. Come on this show. You will not regret it. This is a fun conversation, an intellectual conversation, and frankly, a nice surprise for me. I didn't come here thinking I'd be on a podcast, and you asked me to be, and I appreciate you. So
thank you.
Yeah. So I just come from a place of gratitude, and that's all I want in this world.
I appreciate you as well.
Yeah. You're awesome.
Is there anywhere the listeners can find you or connect with you?
I mean, I'm Justin DiMinni on LinkedIn. I'm also Jay DiMinni on Twitter and Insta. So I think that's good enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have nothing to promote, nothing to sell.
Okay.
I don't want your clicks. I just want to talk with you. I just want to hang with you. All of you.
I appreciate it.
And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. I really appreciate you speaking to me, even though you have to wake up really soon.
I'm going to hate myself, not for this. I make decisions and everything happens for a reason, and I would not change a thing.
You have a love-hate relationship with me now.
No, we're good. We're good, my friend. You are a gem. And you're getting texts at 2 a.m., so
well,
I want to answer those.
Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Amanda's Mindset.
Cheers.
Cheers. In case no one told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And you got this. As always, if you enjoyed the show, I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share it with anyone you think would benefit from this. And don't forget, you are only one mindset shift away from shifting your life. Thanks, guys. Until next time.